Yeah, because you literally see Kuwabara sacrificing himself during the fight. Like when he
Hmm.
to get Yusuke to where he needed to be mentally in order to finish off Tagoro, he had to sacrifice himself, basically get in the way of Tagoro's attack and pretend like he was hurt. Because he
Hmm.
knew that would motivate Yusuke to get him to where he needed to be. Because he knew Yusuke was dragging ass. He wasn't basically where he needed to be in order to start fighting for his life, start fighting for his friends, start fighting for his family. He knew he wasn't in that mind state yet. So
Yep.
that's why Kuwabara got in the way of the attack, sacrificed himself in order to bring it out of Yusuke. Because he knew that pain was going to help him push him over the edge.
Themes explored throughout the Dark Tournament. Um, so basically, we want to analyze the themes prevalent to the Dark Tournament art that Dark Tournament art can add depth to whatever. I'm not reading that. I wrote a little script earlier. I'm not about to read this shit right now. But yeah, so what are the themes you think are that were explored throughout this the arc?
So one that stands out to me is when you look at the relationship between Tagoro and Genkai, there's a
Mm-hmm.
lot of history there. It's a lot of past history.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but more so, like I was saying before, Tagoro really shouldering the burden of him not being able to protect his students before he became a demon. He felt like the fact that his students were killed, he felt like that was his fault. So he really shouldered that burden pretty much his whole life afterwards. That's a theme you see as far as like
So like
him.
more like morality, like is that be
Ye-
like a theme of morality? Um,
Yeah,
basically, you know what I mean?
yeah, yeah. I'd say it's more morality. The fact that he just shouldered that whole burden, and the fact that after that he pushed people away, and he didn't
Mm-hmm.
really want to seem like weak. So that's why he wished for the tournament committee to make him a demon. That way he could just bury those emotions deep inside. But like I say, when we talk about this subject, when you parallel it with Yusuke
Mm-hmm.
doesn't bury his emotion. He uses emotions. That's where he draws his strength. Even though Tagoro's like, if you Tagoro basically during their fight, he tells Yusuke, if you cut off your friends, if you cut off your family, and you only rely on your own strength, you could be stronger than anybody. But Yusuke understands, like, no, I draw my power from when my friends are in danger, and that's when I'm at my best.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and the reason I bring up morality is because when you look at Tagoro, there could be a case where some people are like, no, he's wrong. He didn't need to do that. But some people may be like, well, is he really wrong? You know, it's kind of like Thanos. Is he really wrong? Maybe he's not wrong. He's just going about it the wrong way.
Hmm.
And that's how I look at the girl. Because anybody that goes through something like that is they're not going to be the same. So some people can relate to that. You know, people that lose friends and family close to them that they love, they're not going to be the same. So I can understand why Tagoro was doing what he did. Now, do I? I don't necessarily agree with them, but I completely understand. And that's the reason I bring up morals. And like I said, another character that faced like goes to that type of like questioning the morals is Kurama with his transformation, which we touched on. So I won't go too much in depth about that. Um, but it's throughout the Dark Tournament, it's a lot of moral battles going on, and it's kind of like a gray area in a lot of the battles and a lot of the fights and a lot of the choices made throughout this arc.
Why you say it's a
Like
gray area?
because reasons people are fighting. Some
Yeah.
people are fighting for the prize. Some people are fighting for their lives. Some people are fighting because they had to. They're forced to. Some people didn't even want to be there. So it's like it's a gray area, literally. Like it's if you question the people's beliefs in the moral character, um, and like and a lot of it's a lot of redemption too. Because I think before Tagoro died, it was some type of redemption arc for him. It was redemption for characters like Kurama. It's redemption. It's a lot of redemption throughout this arc too. Um and it's personal growth and personal and change, and is another theme for me. But another one of the biggest themes, and we already talked about this, especially with characters such as Hiei, not Hiei, well Hiei, but Kurobar and Yusuke, sacrifice and determination is a big theme throughout the series. I mean, throughout the Dark Tournament arc.
Yeah, because you literally see Kuwabara sacrificing himself during the fight. Like when he
Mm-hmm.
to get Yusuke to where he needed to be mentally in order to finish off Tagoro, he had to sacrifice himself, basically get in the way of Tagoro's attack and pretend like he was hurt. Because he
Mm-hmm.
knew that would motivate Yusuke to get him to where he needed to be. Because he knew Yusuke was dragging ass. He wasn't basically where he needed to be in order to start fighting for his life, start fighting for his friends, start fighting for his family. He knew he wasn't in that mind state yet. So
Yep.
that's why Kuwabara got in the way of the attack, sacrificed himself in order to bring it out of Yusuke. Because he knew that pain was going to help him push him over the edge.
Yep. Genkai technically didn't she technically sacrifice herself? She knew what was going to happen.
Yeah,
She
yeah.
knew once she gave Yusuke the spirit orb, she knew she stood no chance, and she knew Taguro was going to kill her.
And she
So
knew that he needed it.
yep. So she knew going into the tournament, she knew she was going to die. And that's yeah. So got I always respect the Genkai, but that made her character. I started to appreciate her character a little more after that. Even though like she came right back, it was no real. It wasn't a real. It was a sacrifice, but it wasn't a real sacrifice. And like sacrifice and determination. These characters are risking their lives for this battle. Even characters like Kurobar's sister, uh, Botan, and Keiko being there in general. They didn't have to be there, but they're there to support their loved ones. That's even sacrifice on their end. Can't leave the side characters out. And another big one, and we already talked about this, bonds of friendship and teamwork was huge throughout this arc. Each character learned how important it was to be a part of a team and how important it was to ensure to make your teammates better throughout this arc. If you want to win, they had to learn how to work together.
Especially Yusuke and EA, because
Yep.
they got to do everything themselves. So
Yep.
them learning how to be part of a team was very, very integral to this whole plot, to this whole Dark
Mm.
Tournament. The fact that they were
Yep.
able to finally rely on others to get something done, that's something that's completely out of their character. Because they're
Yep.
the macho man, you know what I'm saying? They're the ones, they're that guy. So they have to do everything
The,
themselves. They have to prove that they're the best.
yep.
But finally realizing, like, no, I can't go it alone. I have to rely on my team in order to get this done. That's actually what makes them stronger. The fact that they're able to
Yep.
humble themselves, come together to complete a common purpose, that's what makes them the best team. And even though they're a team of this team, honestly, every time I look at this team, I was like, how did this team even get constructed? This is a little team of misfits, a little team that should have never been together. But
Mm-hmm.
because of that, those things that make them different is actually what makes them the best team of
Yep.
four. Yeah.
And you made a great point. Think about it. The first episode, Yusuke is shown being the lone wolf. He's doing his own thing. He's not wearing the same color as everybody, the school uniform. The only person that cares about a real friend he has is Keiko, and he
Mm-hmm.
even brushes her off. So he's known as the lone wolf. He's going to do what he wants to do when he wants to do it. He doesn't care what anybody else thinks, what anybody else has to say about it. But it's not always his fault because he was raised like that. His mother was a prostitute, so he basically raised himself. He separated from it at a young age, or whatever happened to him, and he was working alone. I mean, he was technically working alone because didn't he kill the guy that he was working with it when we first meet them or meet?
So he basically he was abandoned as a child. He was abandoned as a child. He was taken in by some bandits, and then from there he kind of had to just basically go it alone because the bandits ended up leaving him as well. They couldn't trust him or whatever. So yeah, from that time that he was pretty much all alone until he basically made the team with Yusuke and them.
Yeah.
So yeah, he
So
had to
you
go
got
it alone for a long time. So he really had to learn that you can be vulnerable and rely on other people, because that vulnerability piece is, it's not something a lot of strong people are okay with, because they don't like
Yep.
showing their weaknesses. They don't like showing that they had pain in their past and that there's something that they need you for. They don't like relying on other people. So that's why
Because
things
they,
like,
yeah.
oh, go ahead.
No, I was saying because they always had to rely on themselves. The only person
Yeah,
they could trust has been
it's been
themselves.
themselves. Yeah, because I
Mhm.
mean, look, EA literally started his life by being abandoned by the people who were supposed to protect and love him. And
Mhm.
then Yusuke, I mean, his dad was a no show. His mom never really took good care of him or any of that stuff. But he really doesn't. From an early age, he didn't learn how to not trust people. So when it starts in your early childhood with the people who are supposed to care about you the most, and they don't even care about you at all,
Yep.
then you develop those trust issues. So that's why it was so hard for them to develop as far as like being vulnerable and being part of a team. But when they were able to do it, that's when they're at their best.
Yep. Absolutely. So yeah, man. Honestly, dart tournament it brought a theme of friendship, teamwork. Their bonds were tested, and they strengthened them. Actually, yeah, a lot of their bonds were tested. There were a lot of arguments, a lot of disagreements throughout in the team. You know, another thing. This is the last thing. It's getting late. We got to close this out. But the it's not only with their own team. Think about how many friends they made throughout the tournament against people that they actually fought, and
Mm-hmm.
how much respect they earned throughout the tournament. Remember, everyone hated these guys, and then it started slowly until people were rooting for them, and they were so I don't want to say charismatic, but they were so respected, and they respected their opponents so much that their opponents end up being their friends, which is crazy because I forgot what demon it was, but they actually gave before the championship. They gave uh Kurama the stuff to make him give him the ability to turn back into Yoko Kurama, and gave Kuwabara something
The
to give him the
spirit,
strength. Yeah.
that's that item, the sword that basically make his spirit sword go crazy. Yeah, it was the
Yep.
beautiful Suzuka that gave him those items.
Hmm.
And like, yeah, just to go off what you said, Yusuke was able to make friends because he didn't come into the dark tournament wanting to kill people. He just wanted to come fight whoever win his battles. But like I was saying before, Yusuke is able to see the goodness in the
Hmm.
people, even if he's fighting, even if her opponent, he's able to understand that, hey, this isn't a bad person. This person,
Hmm.
maybe just had like a bad past or a rough go at life. But I'm able to see the good in them, and I'm able just to fight and have fun with them, and that's why they're attracted to Yusuke's personality. You even see like later on in the show, like way later on in the show, Kuwabara saying to his gang or whatever, his friends, saying that winning isn't the reason why I fight Yusuke, which is a very deep meaning in the show.
Hmm.
And that's
And you
how
want to
Yusuke
know?
is able to like attract all these friends and all of his
Yep.
opponents, because he gains their respect.
And you just mentioned something, and something we talked about earlier in this episode, but you just made me realize. You know why Yusuke is like that?
Uh,
Because he wants people to he Yusuke grew up rough,
yeah,
and he can naturally see the good in people because he had to. It's like a survival instinct in young children, growing up in rough environments, are able to see the good and bad in people. And since he's been the worst, since he's been judged, and since people automatically assume he's not a good person, I think it made him realize, hey, you know, I realized that I'm not necessarily a bad person. I just was in a bad situation, a messed up situation that was out of my control. So some of these people in this tournament aren't here for maybe not the worst reasons. They're here for the same reasons I'm probably here, to save their loved ones. You know,
hmm,
so I think that's what made Yusuke realize, because people judge Yusuke all his life for being a juvenile. You know, and for him, it's like when you go through similar experiences with somebody and you start having a conversation with them, you look at them different because, like, yeah, I know exactly what this person's talking about, or exactly how this person feels because I've been through it too.
you find those commonalities. You find that common pain, and then once you understand them as a person, they understand you. That's where you form the bond. That's why Yusuke was able to form the bond with his opponents because he understands, like, hey, there's certain things that they happen to them, but they're just there to battle. And then even in the moment, even when they're fighting each other, they're actually it's not a chore to them anymore. It's not like they're not fighting for whatever they were fighting for prior. They're fighting to have fun. They're fighting to enjoy. Then they're actually doing what they enjoy doing, as far as like understanding what their fighting styles, understanding, as far as like their different fighting techniques. They're able to actually have fun and just kick back and relax instead of fighting for whatever they were fighting for in the beginning.
Yep, and this is the last thing I'll say.
Mm-hmm.
That's probably why Yusuke saw something in Hiei, because they had similar experiences, abandonment, being alone all the time, having to fend for yourself. I think he realized that with Hiei when he first met him, and because you could tell he never looked at Hiei as bad. He never did. So I think that they had those. They grew up with like similar situations, and I think that's why eventually he started to respect Yusuke a little bit. But yeah, man, Dark Tournament, we got so much more to talk about, but this
Yep.
is
Oh
just
yeah.
the first segment of a series that we're going to have, and we're going to talk about different themes, different topics throughout the Yu Yu Hakusho series as a whole. We're going to try to continue to put out a good product for you guys, and especially leading up to the Netflix series coming out in
Yeah, we have
December.
characters, we have techniques, different themes, different battles,
Hmm.
just the story as a whole, and just the after effects of what took place after the Dark Tournament. We're definitely
Yeah,
gonna bring it all to you guys. I gotta brush up on some of the Dark Tournament arcs. There's a
same.
lot. There's a
It's a
lot
lot.
that happens in this story, but yeah, we're definitely excited to bring this little series to you guys.